Okay, everyone. So I wanted to take a few minutes and introduce our final project that's going to come due next week, and I'm going to go ahead and have it up to date so that if you want to get started on it, obviously you're welcome to. Um, Tentatively, right now, I have it due next Sunday, April 6th. I think that that's going to be enough time for this. If it looks like it's not, if a lot of folks are struggling, which I really don't think anybody will be, um, then we might look at extending that if it's a class-wide thing. But as of right now, I really think that April 6th is a fair deadline for it. Um, so here's what we're doing. There is in the book, chapter 10, there is a project that they have put together that, in my opinion, is terrible. I used it last semester and everybody struggled with it to the point that I had to go through and record sessions like this one, where I went through basically all the steps. And even then, there were pieces of it where I simply couldn't figure out the answer of what to do, of what to put into the connect in order to get the answer correct. So if I hadn't had the answer key, obviously, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Uh, so for like those questions, I ended up just giving everyone like, hey, the answer to 3C is 7.2 or whatever it happened to be. I don't remember. But anyway, I really didn't like it and everyone struggled with it. It was not a good project. So I thought I would take a stab at creating my own project with a different data set. And I think what I've come up with is pretty good. And also it's more fair. It's going over the things that you've covered as you've been going through the book and going through, each chapter of your data analytics. It's going to touch on several of those topics. Plus, it's going to um, uh, be based on stuff you've already done versus the other project. Some of it was based on stuff that you've done, but much of it wasn't. Um, and it had just very little guidance. So I've got uh, the document up. This is you're going to see on eCampus, or what you should be seeing if you have it opened. And I just want to run through it real quickly. So I put in here, and this is true. It's going to serve as sort of like an exam. We've had quizzes, but there are no actual exams in this class. But this is sort of as close to it as we'll get. It's also going to prepare you for the state auditor project, which is coming up in 2 weeks now, pretty soon. I've got all the data and I'll be assigning data out to the different groups um, short, within the next week. So I want uh, I want everybody to work through this. I believe that everyone can do this on their own. I don't think that this needs to be done in a group setting. Again, I've tried to make it as straightforward as I can. I'm confident that everybody can do this on their own. Your submissions will be, as I put here in blue, one Tableau workbook, and I want it's the TWBX file that I can open, and then a Word or PDF file with the answers and screenshots to my questions below. Um, Again, please make sure it's one of those. I had pictures of their stuff, like JPEGs or PNGs. That should be fine. Also, it makes things a little bit harder because I can't search on them because they're pictures. So if you can save it as either a Word file or a PDF, that would make my life a little bit easier. But I'm not going to, you know, deduct points or lose it on you if if you don't. Like I'm not going to be like that. So okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to be using Tableau, and we're going to practice on a real data set, and we're going to use data from Washington, D.C., from the city. I went out, I referenced here, I put, a footnote of where this stuff actually comes from. This is completely free data that the city of Washington, D.C. publishes, and anyone can use it, and they have it completely unrestricted with statements basically saying anyone can use it for anything they want. So that's what we're doing. And the nice thing is these are purchasing card transactions. What P cards are, they're purchasing cards. So these are going to be individuals who work for the city, whether it's agencies or individual people or whatever, that have purchasing cards that, they're going to be required to certain criteria to spend things on these P cards. And our West Virginia project will be a little bit different. There's a few more nuances to it, but we'll get into those later. For now, just know that we're using the DC data, and it is very similar. Now, it says here, trimmed Excel data set. I have already done that for you guys. Everyone's going to be using the third quarter of 2024, which is the most recent full quarter. Now, the fourth quarter might be complete, but I was confident the third quarter, wouldn't have any more up. And it has here all the stuff that you're going to get now. I'm going to show you, this is the data set. Has what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 columns. Has 9 columns, and you're not even going to be able to use them all. I inserted this column here. I had to write not a super complicated formula, but I had to put together a formula that would extract the date from this column B and then put it in date format and like an actual date and not just text, so that you could use it in Tableau as an actual date. Waste your guys' time with that. So I did that for you. I highlighted yellow just so that you were aware that that wasn't an original part of the data set. Then you have, transaction amounts, who the vendor is. So the vendor state or province, that's going to be like where it came from. You see right here at the top, like there's one missing. That's weird. It shouldn't be, but who knows? That's probably not going to be a big deal. Date of last modification, that's kind of irrelevant because that's just going to be the last time these were imported by someone in the city. And then this last object ID, you can use this because it's each line is going. What that actually represents is if I were to open up the full data set has almost 600,000 lines, because it is every single transaction dating back to, like, I forget, 2018 or 2009 or something. I don't know. It was 10, 15 years of data. And so several hundred thousand. And so this object ID literally corresponds with whatever the row number that the item was in. So if we had the full data set, this District of Columbia Public Schools line would have been in line 545135. And so it's near the end of the total data set, because this third quarter of 2024 is near the end of where they would currently be. So that makes sense. But if you did need a unique identifier for any reason, you could use this object ID as a unique identifier, because it is going to be unique for every single one of these lines. At least it should be. I didn't go through and search it, but it should be. So this is the data. You'll have, it'll be there to download also. Okay. So what do I want you to do? So I'm not going to physically do this for you guys, but let's just run through. I don't want you guys to have to spend a lot of time watching this video, so let's get through it. So our task, what are we going to be doing? I want you to pull the data set in, and then I want you to verify completeness and identify missing or duplicated transactions, if any. And that's up to you how you do it. You can, we did some work where we looked for duplicates. We looked for missing stuff. Now, I will say there may be items missing in that object ID because it may, like, something that may have got put in later may have related to a prior quarter. future or whatever. So you may have lines in that object ID that are missing. So I would caution you to say that if a number skips in that object ID, that doesn't automatically mean that something's missing. That just means that something was there and probably fell outside of Q3 2024. So I would not do that. But you can use Tableau, Excel, whatever, see if there is anything that looks truly missing or duplicated. Missing's going to be hard, but at least duplicated. Then following summary statistics, and I put on here, this is how I tried to make it easy. Refer to lab 2.4. I tried to go, where did we actually do something related to this? You could go and you could look at it to work through it. So putting together summary statistics, identifying and documenting outliers or anomalies. We did that in lab 6.1. And then the way I set this up is, okay, for this first part, what do I want you to give me? Well, I want you to have a worksheet in your Tableau workbook where you have put these summary statistics so I can see them there. Then go ahead, like we've been doing with the other labs, start a Word file and put a screenshot of them in there also. And then the last point, and it got copied down next page, but provide a brief paragraph describing the data and highlighting key findings. So I don't need 3 pages on it. I also don't need ChatGPT's response as to why there are anomalies or what the summaries are. You guys can do this, and I really expect you to. There's not any reason that anyone in this class can't go through and read and just give me some description about what you're seeing in the summary statistics. Honestly. So, all right, moving on. Part 2, data visualization dashboard creation. So I want you to create some visualizations for me. And I've listed 4 of them here, and I've listed the labs where we worked on. Monthly spending trends, lab 4.1, total spend by merchant, lab 4.5, top 5 vendors by total spend, lab 4.5. Distribution of transaction amounts, create a scatter plot, and add a trend line, labs 3-2 and 3. Combine these visualizations into an interactive dashboard that allows filtering by, and then I bolded this, agency, month, vendor, and merchant categories. So basically, I want you to have 4 different filters that I can filter it any way I want to. I could drill down by month and agency, by month, agency, and vendor, by all the way down. It's really not hard. You just drop those in that filter section in your dashboard. So that shouldn't actually be that hard. The big thing is to make sure that and we've had to do it in several labs, so I don't know one where off the top of my head, but where you would add the filters, but then you would also go over, I think on the right-hand side of the screen where the filter's at, and you would like click the down arrow or whatever, and you would say to make it applicable to all data presented in the dashboard, or all data derived from the same data set or whatever. That way, when we put it in the dashboard and I filter one of them, all of your things filtered. So make sure you do that. Label your dashboard tab. Create a spend analysis, and we call it spend analysis in the final workbook you submit. The other pages should be behind it that you use to do these other things up at the top, 1 through 4. They should be behind it, but then I want you to have the actual dashboard called spend analysis. And so put a screenshot in. I don't need you to write anything up for that. The dashboard really speaks for itself. And then the last part, I want you guys to take some time. This is where you're going to be doing the writing, is in part 3. So using the dashboard, I want you to answer these questions. So top 3 spenders in each of those categories with the highest total spend. Well, there's a typo, during in each month. So I'll fix that before I upload it. total spend in each month of Q3. So you're going to have, um, what would it be? 9 different things. So you're going to have July, August, and September for agency, July, August, and September for vendor, and July, August, and September for merchant category. You could put those like in a table. That might be the easiest way to show it. Because this would be this will be in your Word document, like you'll be typing this up. So it's probably easy to make a table in your Word document that you can put those in. And I would literally do, 9 rows, 3 columns, and do, agency, 3 times, and then do July, and then do agency, vendor, merchant category beside your Julys, and then add the top 3 vendors. And get on through that. That would probably be the easiest way to do it. Then let's see, brainstorm and give me 1 or 2 potential reasons for each category as to why the results are not consistent in each category. So, are they the same? Are we seeing that the same spenders in each one of these categories, whether it's who we're buying from or the merchant category, is it consistent from month to month? And then just why do you think it is, or why do you think it isn't? Now, I'm going to tell you, I am going to go through and do the Tableau stuff for this also. I'm basically going to do the project myself. I have not done it yet, so I don't know if they're going to be different or not, but we'll all figure that out together. All right, which vendors exhibit unusually high transaction amounts or transaction frequency? And do you think they need more review? So again, look at number of transactions by vendor, and just there's no right answer there. It's, what do you think? What do you consider? I mean, this is Washington, D.C. It's a big city. It's going to have a lot of transactions. Again, 14,000 lines. So, that's quite a bit of data for just one city. By comparison, the state of West Virginia files, because we're dealing with an entire state, every month has 20 to 30,000 lines. So you're dealing with twice as much data in every single month. But again, that's an entire state and every little municipality or whatever in the entire state. So that's but this will give you, again, good prep for whenever Virginia stuff. Analyze the monthly spending trends and identify any month showing unusual activity, thinking outliers. What could you do? Brainstorm. What could you do to investigate the anomalies? I'm not asking you to actually do it or find an answer. What do you think you do? And then assume you work for the city and you're responsible for reviewing the state each month. I want you to think of a couple of things that should be being done on a regular basis. I put here 2 analytical procedures that should be being completed on a regular basis to ensure that, basically bad stuff doesn't happen. And again, that is just your opinion. I don't want, or I don't think you need to, have put so much thought into it that it's, something that is incredibly in depth or whatever. It's just, what are some basic things that they should be doing, and maybe they are. I mean, we don't know. We don't have that kind of data. We just have the physical data itself. So maybe they do some of the tests you suggest or not. But I want to get your thoughts. And then the deliverables. In our Word file, I want you to do written analysis of the 4 questions above. Answers should be well thought out and submitted in narrative form. The questions combined should only take 1 to 2 double-spaced pages. And whenever I say 1 to 2, I literally, like, if it takes you a page to answer all of it, that's fine. I don't need a bunch of superfluous text mixed into your answers just to make it longer. There's no need. I have been guilty of that in academics. That's very common because you have word quotas and stuff like that. So all of a sudden you're throwing in every big word you can think of, and in combinations and stuff to get as many words in as much space as possible. Well, that's not what we're doing. I want you to be succinct, and just get me good answers. I, um, how I plan to grade it, um, 20 points for those initial basic tasks, 40 points on the visualization and the dashboard, and then 40 points for your sort of analytical stuff at the end. I think, I'm not going to grade it under a super fine microscope, but I am going to pay attention to what you've done and open things up, and like, I'll take points here and there if you've missed stuff or something. Especially if you just don't answer something, then you're not going to get a piece of the points for that thing you didn't answer for that thing. So, otherwise shouldn't be that hard to get through. And then submission, each student will submit one Tableau, one workbook, and one Word or PDF file. That's it. And that's the same thing I have above. I'll see if I can get this up on the page above before I load it to eCampus. So that's our project. Feel free to ask me questions. I don't mind you guys talking about it, but I want you to try and do it on your own. Now, whenever we get to the state auditors project, because it's a much larger volume of data and stuff, we are going to work in teams that you guys have already selected or should have by this point. For this one, I want everybody to get that experience of, doing a little bit of the data analysis up front. So everybody do it. If you want to talk back and forth, that's fine. Bounce questions, or how did you do this, or how did you do that? But please don't just blanketly share your document, your stuff back and forth. Now, one thing I will say as I wrap up here, this is publicly available data. So it can be put into, basically anything you want. Like if you, we're focused on using Tableau, and the things that you're going to give me are coming out of Tableau. But say use like a ChatGPT or something like that to put all the data in and just see, maybe even ask it, hey, this is what I think about this. If you analyze this data, what do you think? And it'll analyze the data and it'll tell you what it thinks. With this data, that is okay because this is public data and they've put no restrictions on it. I cannot stress enough that we cannot do that with the state of West Virginia data. So don't figure out how to do like, oh, I got ChatGPT to do all this stuff. I'll do this on the project. No, you won't. We will get in tons of trouble if any of the data gets uploaded into one of the AI systems with the state of West Virginia, and it could that we can't do the project anymore. So for this, it would be all right. For the West Virginia State Auditors, it is definitely not all right. So that's it. Good luck, everybody. Like I said, feel free to send me questions if you have them. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.